Since abortion involves killing another person, it's just murder and should be outlawed. Welcome to Friday Fallacy. This week we're looking at begging the question. Begging the question is when the conclusion of an argument is hidden in its premises. That is, rather than establishing the point on its own merits, we begin by assuming a similar point is true and use that to prove it. This is not a sound way of arguing, as assuming the conclusion to be true does not establish its truth. That an immaterial mind would prove physicalism is false doesn't actually establish that the mind is immaterial. That physicalism being true would prove that the mind is essentially material in no way establishes that immaterial things don't exist. Some examples of begging the question. The Bible can be trusted because it's the Word of God. Vaccinations are just poison, so they can't be good for you. Christianity can't be true, as only a stupid person would believe in Christianity. People's experience of God proves that he exists. God, by definition, must exist, and therefore his existence is assured. Not all examples of begging the question are obvious. Often the premise is worded significantly different than the conclusion, and it's only by analysing the premises does it become clear that the arguer is begging the question. For example, consider an argument against abortion. Pro-life advocates often contend that abortion is murder because it involves the killing of another person without sufficient justification. But murder is often defined as being the unjustified killing of another person, so the argument is equivalent to abortion is murder because it involves murder. This is begging the question. Also, note that begging the question doesn't make an argument invalid or unsound. It is perfectly valid to argue by begging the question, and if the premises are true, then the argument is also sound. But it is a poor method of arguing, as it is unconvincing. That is, anyone who rejects the premise is given no new reason to accept it. For example, it is perfectly valid to argue that the Bible being infallible would also prove that it's the Word of God and hence inerrant. But this provides no reason to accept its conclusion, since its conclusion is also one of its unjustified premises. The term begging the question is generally used when the conclusion of the argument is included as a premise in a more or less unmodified form. If the chain of reasoning from premises to conclusion is more tortuous than that, the fallacy is usually called circular reasoning. In conclusion, begging the question is when the point that is being argued is assumed to be true as a premise. Until next time, keep your fallacies to yourself.